west of the Rockies. You're on the air on Ghost to Ghost AM. Hi.
Hello, Art. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
And to you. Where are you, sir?
This is Peter from Lakewood, Colorado. I talked to you 2 years ago, and strangely enough, it was about this time.
Okay.
Many years. This is a true story. It did happen to me.
Okay.
And many years ago, I was in the ministry and studying the ministry, and I had taken my grandfather out to for an evening of sporting events, and he lived in the country. And I took him back home around 11:30, 12 o'clock when the sporting event had finished.
Mm-hmm.
And after leaving him at his home, which was a farmhouse, I was coming down the country road, and there was like a bend in the road. And looking out my car window, I saw something that was stirring the horses out in the field. And being, those are our horses, I decided to park my car just past the bend and walk my way back to the bend, and I started looking over the barbed wire fence to see what was stirring the horses.
Sure.
As I started looking out toward the horses, I heard a rumbling in the weeds in the grass only a few feet in front of me.
When you say rumbling, what do you mean?
Kind of a moving of grass, or kind of the crackling of weeds.
So more like a rustling.
There you go.
Okay.
And as I looked, this is where everything starts getting strange. As I looked into the weeds and the grass there, I saw a sort of a vision of a man and a woman laying in the grass.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, I said, oh, this is stupid. You've walked on to something private here in the middle of the night. And I just couldn't cogitate what was going on. As I looked again, these two figures kind of shrunk. I don't know how to others say it, but they just kind of shrunk.
You mean literally?
Literally, this vision kind of shrunk in size and became something black and white and furry, and just ran right toward me. And as it came right to me in the bend, there was a water pipe, that runs for the ditches that run under the dirt roads.
Yes.
It went right into the ditch, into this drain pipe that goes under the road there. Anyway, to make as to go on, I was very confused, and I kept on looking at the end of this pipe that went under the road, and as I looked further, two little hands emerged out and grabbed the edge of the pipe. And I kept on looking, and out of the pipe came the face of a little boy. And it was a grayish-white, ghoulish-looking little face, and it had black fur all over where his hair was. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and startled, it wrestled back into the pipe. Well, I was afraid. I walked.
Afraid? My God, I'd be running as fast as my feet would carry me long before it came back out of the pipe. I mean, when the thing shriveled and went into the pipe, I'd be gone. How did you stand your ground?
Well, Art, I was confused. When you see something starting like that, I wasn't scared. It was more like, first of all, it was, I walked into something, all of a sudden it shrunk, and I got confused. I didn't know what to make. When I saw that little face come out and then go back in, I headed back for my car. I got in my car, started it up, and then I said to myself, hey, wait a minute. You are a divinity student. You're a minister. There's nothing that can, harm you. So I stopped, turned off the car, went back out there to the bend, got down on my knees and started praying. And after I said a few prayers, I just got back up, got in my car, and took off. The next day, I went to my grandfather, and I told him about what happened, and he said, I don't want to tell you what went on here. I want you to tell your father the same thing and see what he has to say. I said it to him, and I went back and told my father, and my father said that many years ago, he and my grandfather were at the farmhouse, and there used to be a little house, a small little one-bedroom house, right where that bend was, and a woman had lost her child, and they had heard that she had turned to black magic to try to have some kind of connection with her dead child. And one time, they felt she was performing, they saw a fireball come out of her house, the front of her house, roll across the yard, roll across the the gravel area in the bend, the road there in the bend, jump over the fence and roll around in the field right about where the horses were. And I know it sounds like a fantastic story, but it is a true story, and I think it was what I saw in that pipe was the ghost of that little boy. And
the only question that I have to have answered
sure.
is whether what you saw really was what was left of that little boy, not gone elsewhere, but trapped here, or whether it was just some sort of weak image, some sort of barely visible, horribly repeating little loop of, what had occurred. Until I find out the answer to that question, these kinds of stories will forever scare me. Because if it was the soul of that little boy, then obviously he wasn't where he should have been.
All right, I'm in my 40s, and I've tried to figure that one out, but I can tell you, the face of that little boy, that grayish, the only other time I've seen something like that was I was volunteering in the hospital, and I saw a little child who was about to pass away. He had that same grayish pallor, and if it wasn't something supernatural that these black magic had produced, it definitely was that little child who's caught in that corner, and maybe will be there forever. But I told you this story 2 years ago, and you had kind of the same response, and it's one that will puzzle me for till my grave, that's for sure.
I appreciate your telling it, or in this case, retelling it. Thank you, my friend.
Art, we love you here in Denver.
Thank you. Take care. That will haunt me forever with regard to this subject.